All right, everyone. First, thank you very much for attending this Reverb webinar hosted by MusicTT and Creative TT. Really excited to be part of this webinar series. I don't know if you hear any dogs in the back, but just please forgive me if you hear that. I think I could dive straight into it because I know we have an hour and an hour could go by really quickly. So I am going to start, all right? All right, great. So everyone, my name is Gerard Thomas, and this webinar series is going to be about creative entrepreneurship, right? Before we dive into creative entrepreneurship, just want to give a quick overview of my background. So I'm the founder of Launch Rocket. Launch Rocket was an event, entrepreneurship event company, and our focus is on working with organizations to host different types of entrepreneurship events. Some of our flagship events have been startup weekends, and we have done a lot of different types of events for different organizations such as the IDB and World Bank and Caribbean Export, etc. So I have a lot of experience within the entrepreneurship space and helping entrepreneurs start businesses. However, as at the beginning of March, I stepped down from Launch Rocket, and I got an opportunity to be head of innovation and business development at Agostini's group, and I'm really excited about that. Some people may think, well, if you're entrepreneurial, why would you try to go back to corporate? And one of the answers, my answer to that is through corporations, I know confidently we could help a lot of more small businesses and medium-sized businesses grow and scale. So this is a strategy of mine where one, I love the environment within corporate, and I think corporations can really help a lot of startups. So I would say, anybody want to talk about this? You can talk about this later or another time. And but I'm really excited about this role that I just started at Agostini Group. So diving back into creative entrepreneurship. Now, originally for my slides, I had them showing different lines at different times, but this is just, you'll see the full slide, so it's fine. But I think, one of the things I wanted to ask, what do you think? Creative entrepreneurship. When you hear creative entrepreneurship, typically people think, okay, is it for entrepreneurs who are trying to be more creative, or is it for creatives trying to be entrepreneurial? I'm gonna ask you guys if I know I was told to do Q&A at the end, but I like to have things interactive. What do you guys think? Just tell me A or B. If you think, creative entrepreneurship is, we can just type quickly in the chat window, A for entrepreneurs being more creative or creatives being more entrepreneurial. Seen any answers as yet? If I'm looking at the right thing, yep. B, all right, so Roy just said B, creative is becoming more entrepreneurial. Okay. Ade, hey Ade, how you doing? It's both A and B. Anybody else? Just one more? Both? Mate said both. Okay, great. And that's how I feel. I think that's the entrepreneur and the creative in us. I think it's both, right? I think creative entrepreneurship is definitely about both sides. Creatives becoming more entrepreneurial and entrepreneurs becoming more creative. But Google has it a little more where it's the creative entrepreneur that's using their skill set to start a business. The rest of this presentation is going to be focused primarily on assisting creatives become more entrepreneurial. So within the entrepreneurial world, or the startup world, as we like to call it, there are a bunch of techniques and strategies that companies generally start with. Type of business, there are typical strategies that you can utilize. Now, within the culture here in Trinidad and Tobago, creatives, they have a different style of starting businesses, right? So, my objective for this presentation is to show you 4 strategies typically used by any type of tech or any type of business that's starting, but they could definitely be applied to creatives within the creative industry. And what's really critical, oh, I forgot to mention, I feel like this is a typical session, but this is a COVID-19 type of webinar. So most people may be home, very few people, if they're in the office, they may be at the office. But the creative industry has just changed because of COVID-19. And now the question is, how do we manage that? How do we adjust to these new trends, or what people are calling the new normal? And I think these 4 strategies are to help creatives look at the opportunities and look at the landscape, and hopefully prevent them from doing what they may have been doing before and spinning themselves on the same wheel, trying the same strategies. Right now, the approach has to be very, very different. So I want to give you 4 strategies which I think any startup could use, but I think it's really helpful and geared more towards the creative sectors. Yeah. So the first strategy is what I will call increasing your technology footprint, right? I think since now, and I've seen so many reports talking about how the creative industries, music and fashion and so many industries go face to face. How do you get them now to connect with you through technology? And I think for especially a level, but it's leveled for a lot of people, right? So ultimately, anyone, even if you're at the top of your career within the music industry or fashion or film, you now have to use technology to a completely different new level to really bring your products out there. And also for the beginner, you have to do the same, use technology. So for those people who are beginners or starting or close to the beginning, they have a great opportunity to really compete. And I think one huge thing is what I call, again, increasing that technology footprint. So in Trinidad, what I've seen, especially around creatives, everybody's familiar with the Facebook and Instagram, right? We had a phase of Snapchat for a little while. But I think it's critical that anybody who's moving forward now, they need to be able to be on as many platforms as possible. And not just only what you would typically consider the popular social media platforms, but you need to be on as many platforms, being able to engage with people and learn. So for those, so most of you all will know most of the symbols here that are on the slides. Facebook, TikTok is becoming popular. Some of you may have YouTube or Vimeo channels. Some people may be on Dailymotion, but I think Dailymotion is for those persons who are into video and film. Great opportunity to learn from a lot of producers and also to put up your own content. I learned about a platform called Daisy not too long ago, and Daisy is for creatives, right? It's basically a social networking environment where creatives connect, meet, share ideas, etc. Those persons who are into the arts and design, they could possibly use or may have known about a platform called Behance. So it's behance.net if you're looking for that. And Behance is owned by Adobe. Behance is where a lot of creatives and designers, especially in digital space, tend to want to use. All right. And those who are in music, I learned because of a project working with MusicTT, I learned about Splice. So those who want to learn about getting beats and learn about different types of, in terms of production, this is a great opportunity to look at different platforms. And I listed 6 here, which I think are good ones to use. But I think there are so many platforms out there. And I think it's really, really critical that you look at look at as many platforms as possible and decide, hey, you know what, let me try to create my footprint, create my brand across many, many platforms. Now, before you dive into that, there are some guidelines around that, and we'll talk about that within the next 2 strategy sections. But one of the things I've also looked at besides just channels are, as they're called, they're channels. They're a way to get your products out there to consumers, but they're not your product, right? And channels could be used as a tool for marketing, but there are so many other technology tools that I think that are important for entrepreneurs and for creatives to think about, right? Oh, sorry, before I go on to the tools part, let's just go back again to the channels part. I forgot the slide. In the channel slide, we look at the Facebooks, the Instagrams. All right, you may have YouTube, you may have Twitter, but why are you using these channels? What's the purpose? behind using these channels. And my suggestion is you try to create a purpose for each channel. And they can be for different things. So this is an example. If you are a musician, it could be, you could use Facebook maybe to market your songs or your beats or whatever music you're trying to produce to an audience. But what other channels are there that you could use as a tool, right? Or you could use maybe sharing information or learning from others. So Twitter, a lot of people use Twitter primarily for communication, short communication. Twitter might be the platform for you for learning from other maybe producers if you're in the music industry, or learning from other creatives. YouTube could be for where you use to showcase a collection, or it could be used for experimenting with something new. So and again, an example, if you're a producer and you're specifically into the genre of soca, and maybe even dabbling a little bit into Afro beats, etc., you may want to use YouTube for something completely different, aligned with your brand, but now a channel to maybe experimenting with new things. And I like to think big. I like to think really out and out of the box. Imagine now if you're trying to mix, soca with some type of music from Russia or some type of music from Scandinavia. Maybe you could try YouTube as your experimental channel, right? So one of the things that a lot of creators and entrepreneurs do is they stick to the typical Facebook, typical Instagram, a little bit Twitter here and there, but they're not using these channels as a strategy or for a purpose. There's no why behind it. And I think it's really important for entrepreneurs to be able, and creators to be able to now look at, okay, I have 5 or 10 channels to choose from. What am I going to use for each one? Now you may try Facebook and let's just assume you try Facebook for connecting to people outside of your market. So if you're targeting people primarily in the Caribbean region, or maybe even the English speaker Western hemisphere, so you're looking at the US, Canada, etc., you may say, okay, you know what, I want to try Facebook and try to get into the Latin American market and maybe Latin music. So that is connecting to people outside of your market. You may try it, you may have difficulties with the language barrier, but you may try it and it may not work. And if it doesn't work, it's okay now to try to use Facebook for a different channel. So my first important thing is to really ask people, when you're using channels, have a purpose behind using each channel, right? When I was talking about earlier just now in terms of tools, Facebook is a tool, but there are a lot of other technology tools that can help people do amazing things, especially within the creative space. So I know we all know about the battles that has been happening in the last few, during COVID period, where people are using Instagram primarily to battle each other. We have some battles in Trinidad, battles internationally, etc. And some of the complaints I've heard is that you can't have engagement, like really good engagement or voting or certain types of things within Instagram, right? Because the tool hasn't been developed at that level as yet. So there's a company called crowdcast.io. Now, not everything here is free, but there's a company called crowdcast.io, and they allow you to do almost a battling whereby people could post comments and questions and information before the battle even starts. You could do voting during the process, and then you could have that recorded and sent to YouTube if you were doing a battle. But taking off of the battle stage, if you really want to engage your audience, and not just about likes, but get them to ask questions, get them to give feedback, get them to interact with you, not just on likes and comments, but at a different level and having more feature sets. Crowdcast is a good option to look at. Video conferencing, we all run to Zoom, and first time I'm using Webinar Jam. Right, there's another company called Whereby.com, and they do video conferencing. And what I like about Whereby is Whereby allows you to kind of create your own brand. So I think you could do, if it was for me and I'm Agostini, I could say I could do agostini.whereby.com, or I could create whereby.com/Agostini. I can't remember which one it is, but it allows you to create that brand. So when you're now engaging with other people, you're not just going to use Zoom and send people a link. You're telling people, okay, come and join me in my room or in my space, which is a different type of presentation, right? Milan Milanote, it's like a visual board. So it's something like Pinterest, but allows you to really drag and drop feature of combining boards and writing a lot more text with images, right? Again, using tools, I think, in the space of the typical career person, they use LinkedIn as a tool for connecting with people in the job market or looking at potential employers, or employees. I think I found out about a company called Twine.fm, and they do a lot more services, but they have an opportunity for people within the music industry and the creative industry. So whether you're in fashion or film, if you have the talent, but you're also maybe building your own projects, but you want people to pay you for your services, whether it's production, engineering, etc., you could look at Twine.fm as an option. So I just got a question. Let me see, will this session be recorded? Yes. So Emerson, yes, this session will be recorded and will be available later on the MusicTT's YouTube channel. Just to add that. So Twine is a tool that you could use and within the creative space. So I think it's really important for any creative at this stage now, during this social distancing space, which may last for a few more months to maybe even a few years. You have to now spread your wings heavily on the technology platforms. Use a lot of tools to be able to help you, people to know about you, connect with you, and do different types of information. Share different types of information, learn on the different styles and different ways. So I strongly recommend a lot of people, sorry, one sec. I strongly recommend a lot of people continue using Facebook, continue using Instagram, but look at options for getting and spreading your footprint across this World Wide Web so that more people could find you, because now there are a lot more people online, and the competition now has gotten a little flat, so that you compete with those who are at the best of their games and those who even are in the mid-range, if you're now starting, right? The other thing within the entrepreneurship space is we talk about your funnel, and your funnel is about when you're spreading yourself across these different networks, people are going to interact with you at different ways, and you want to be able to now really get everybody to meet or know who you are at one single point. And what I mean by that is, in a funnel, as a funnel zooms in and goes to this final focal point, your focal point, I believe, every creator should have is a website. A lot of creatives have seen they use their Facebook page or their Facebook, they may have their personal page or a business page, and that's fine. But if you think as Facebook as a tool and a channel, it can't be the final product that someone goes to, because Facebook is not the typical type of, this is who I am. Facebook is, these are the things that I am doing currently or sharing. So it's very much into the moment. And I think every creative needs a final page. So even if someone finds you on Facebook or Twitter or sees a comment from you on Reddit, you want them to be able to say, okay, let me learn more about this person. And they go to this one page. It could just be one page and one picture for now, or a sample of some product or creative product that you're selling or just creating. But you want people to, you want that one page to identify, no matter what Facebook does, no matter what Twitter does, no matter what's on your feeds, you have this one brand that's there. And I see a lot of creatives not investing the time and a little bit of money, but it is money, but investing the time being able to create that brand presence. And there's some sources. So there's GoDaddy. I know sometimes when you create a domain name, they give you a website. It's a very simple, basic website. You don't need it to know any coding. It's kind of drag and drop. You can get that sometimes for free. And there are other paid services like Squarespace, which is really for creatives. They have some amazing templates. There's another company called Webflow. That's also at a cost, but amazing templates for creatives. Creative can also use Medium. So if you're into creating, if you're into creating content and you are writing a lot, whether even if you're still doing music or you're doing film or fashion, but you like to write and express yourself through that form, Medium is a great platform. And Medium also allows you to get the same type of social system of followers, and you can make your Medium page almost look like a website, which is good for branding. But you could, it's like a blog. Medium is a blog, but so much nicer blog compared to the many years ago, right? One of the things that I think is really important, and in this digital space, for those persons who have basic websites, you'll find somebody have a form on their website, right? Wix and Webly too, yes, Maria just said that. Wix and Webly are options also. You'll find that people have, you may go to GoDaddy and they say, okay, you can create a form, etc. Or if you're using Squarespace or Webflow or even Wix, you may be able to create a form so people could contact you. As that's 2000s, right? You want to be able to allow people to contact you immediately because we're in a digital age. Email is too slow for you at this stage right now, because if I send an email and if you don't get it as yet or you get it later tonight and I forget tomorrow and you forget to reply, it's good. It's a good form, it's traceable, but you want people to communicate, you want people to communicate with you as a creative as quickly as possible. So once you get that website up, and again, your website could just be one page, one paragraph, one picture if you want to put a picture. Allow people to chat with you, right? So don't have an email, don't have a form, allow people to just send you a message. And there are technologies like crisp.chat, right? Or Fresh Chat. If you type in Fresh Chat in Google, you'll carry you to that website, because Fresh Chat is part of a bigger platform, but it allows people to chat with you instantly, right? There's another company called Drift. So when you get these messages, you are able now to connect with somebody instantly if they came to your site. But they came to your site for a reason, right? They came to your site for learning more about you, right? And just getting more information. But if you want them to allow to connect with you, make that easy. And you have to use a lot of tools out there to do that, all right? Zopim. Okay, Omar, I never heard about Zopim, but definitely to those on the chat, you could take a look at it and see, right? So your focus is that one point. Now, when you have these other channels, so you have YouTube, etc., on all these channels, you want to have your website. You want to have that focal point that people go back to. Now, on the right-hand side, we have this funnel of these social medias, and then it's supposed to lead to money. And depending on what stage you are at and what type of business you're doing, it may or may not directly lead to that, right? So if you're selling fashion or you're selling clothing or design, etc., it might be able to lead to that a little faster than someone who is creating music. But you want people to be able to communicate with you. So I would remove those dollar signs at the bottom and just put like instant communication. And that's your kind of focal point that people are coming to. One good thing too is that when you start to increase your footprint on the internet, it's going to be hard to measure how many people come to your site, right? It's not always easy. So if you get people to be directed to your website, now it's easier to measure, okay, and depending on, we don't have the time to go into the details, but if you use a tool like Google Analytics, which is really easy if you're doing it with GoDaddy, or some of the Squarespace, for example. It allows you to see how many people came to your website and from what sites they came from. So they came from Facebook, if they came from Medium, if they did the Google search. And this type of information helps a lot in you saying, okay, you know what? 100 people came to the site today from Facebook versus, or let's say this month, from Facebook versus 5 coming from Pinterest. Maybe I should just focus more on Facebook, or maybe vice versa. If 100 people come from Pinterest, maybe you should focus a little more on Pinterest versus Facebook, right? So it helps you measure this information, and we'll talk about that in the next slide. Not next slide, but within the next strategies. I put this picture because I liked it a lot. I think too many times I see on social media, it's primarily about what we as entrepreneurs or what we as people want to tell others, or what conversation we want to join. Sometimes we do start and we have our opinion, but we forget it's more of a conversation place than a channel or storefront type of space. And why I put this image, because I like the idea of somebody coming through your funnel, whether they start off at your at your channels of social media, but when they come to the bottom of the channel and they're leaving with something. Now, in this case, it looks like people are using social media and they're making a purchase and they're taking a good out. But if you look at the people at the bottom of this picture, and you replace that with a feeling. I think in the creative space, with this digital drive and this digital overload now that's happening during COVID, it's so critical for you to leave your followers or people who are just visiting with a feeling. And you have to figure that out in some form or fashion based on what product you're selling. So if you're selling music, you want to figure out a way, how do I leave people with something, with a feeling? I was talking to one of my mentors, a very successful businessman, say his name, a very successful businessman in the creative space in Trinidad. And he said, in today's world, a lot of people don't care too much if they know all about what product you're selling. What their interest is if it catches their eye or their ears, or if you're cooking, maybe their smell. But it's if you could catch their attention quickly, and then after they dive deeper. So he made the analogy of sometimes you may hear a song and if it's Latin music or even African music, you may not understand any of the words, but the beat has just caught you, or something about the song caught your attention. And then after you
Okay, good. So we're talking about this funnel, and I think the important thing at this point was leave your customers with something to remember, right? And you have to really think about it. Take your time. I know you're creative, so most of you will take your time, but don't delay too much. Try and explore. Take risk. Take some good risk, and you will see. So I was explaining also about this funnel, is that if you Google sales funnel or social media funnels, you will see a lot of information out there. So that could give you some guidance. You don't have to become an expert in this if you choose not to. But I do think it's important to understand the process of how funnels work. So generally, when someone comes to your website, they're interested, but you have to provide them the right information so that they're engaged, and then they could take action, right? So you never know. If you sing, you never know. You could put up on your website, and especially if you get websites where you could change the text easily, you could say, hey, would you mind, since we're home with COVID, I'd be happy to sing for you. If you have a special occasion coming up, I'd be happy to sing for you, right? For you and your loved ones or whatever. And this is, I think, crazy. So I want you guys to also think crazy, because remember, everybody is competing now on this digital platform. So you have to be very creative. So if that's your talent and that's your goal, you may be able to try something different. I know a guy from Dominican Republic. He used to do this business whereby people would send him a song and he would get people to sing it over, but make it song authentic as they're singing it, like a live band, and then send it back to people for a fee, and they'll play it for a loved one during like a romantic dinner or something like that, right? But you could be creative. I want you guys to really think, how do you get that engagement level? Even through your channels, when you're marketing your products or just having communications with people, how do you engage with people? How do you let people know who you are and what you bring to the table, right? Don't try to be fake, don't lie, but if you're in Reddit and you're chatting about music within their music section, how do you let people know, hey, this is who I am, I'm from Trinidad and Tobago, and this is what we're doing, or I'm from the Caribbean, and this is what I'm doing in this space, but this is my feedback on whatever topic that you guys are talking about. And by the way, if anyone is interested in X, Y, and Z, please don't be hesitate. Check out my website, message me, and I'll be happy to chat further with you, right? I see too many people also trying to sell. It doesn't happen that much in the creative space, depending on what it is, because you can't just try to sell a film if it's just in your mind. But a lot of times people try to sell early startups. They try to sell and do a lot of push strategy versus what I call a give and take, whereby you're now trying to build relationships with people and build fans and build people to follow you. Again, going back to tools, another tool is called Hotjar, right? Hotjar.com, and they have a free option. And you could say, if you're an artist, you could have, so how Hotjar works is that people come to your website. It's not a chat, but you can ask quick surveys. So you could say, let me know if you're interested, if you're selling art. Let me know if you're interested in my art. Let me know if you'd like me to do a painting for you. You could ask, how likely are you to recommend me? So this also goes back to your website. So it's a survey tool, right? I made up this thing, and there you go. You can be cheeky because remember you're competing, but you have to be professional, right? Share your email with me if you want email addresses to keep people abreast with what you're doing, and I'll share my secrets. And your secrets are what you're doing, right? Your secrets are, hey, I'm doing this today. I'm doing this new. If it's a song or you're trying to write a song. And one of the things that I saw, and I put this in a previous slide. It was in the wrong place. Oh, I hope I don't have to go back too far. All right. So I put here, stop pushing at the bottom underneath all the logos. I put stop pushing, start teaching, give homework to your followers. So I saw this link some days or weeks ago. This gentleman, I think he does like art and drawings, etc. And he's now, teaching people, and he's assigning homework to people who like his product. And he's engaging with them in a completely different way, right? Instead of always trying to be the one only creator, why not engage your audience in a different level that allows them to create with you or co-create with you? Of course, there are legalities around that and lots of do's and don'ts, and I'm not a lawyer, and I'm sure everybody could understand that could be risky. But at what point are you going to take a risk, right? This is the time to take a risk, especially if you're starting, because if you're creative, I always believe creatives are always creative, and nothing can turn off their creativity. So don't allow one opportunity to bring a product into the world, and you can't co-create it with followers or co-create with other people, and you're afraid you're going to lose it, right? Because you're creative, so you'll always have great ideas, right? So that's that about funnels. The other thing I think which is really critical, the third strategy is to become an expert. And what I mean by becoming an expert is that not in your craft, but in a tool or in a new market. I think, I've been looking at, and of course it's from MusicTT, and from the last project we did with them, I started to dive deeper a little bit into Spotify and how, people try to, I wouldn't say game, but to use Spotify and use the process of getting your song popular on Spotify through their algorithms and through getting on people's music lists, etc., etc. And I think if you are a musician in this particular space, I think you should learn something really, really well besides just being great at music. Do one thing. Look at your space and your industry and find something that's digital and online that you could learn so well that if by chance, and I'm giving an example, if by chance you weren't able to get the opportunity to get the right producers so they could turn your music into hits, or you weren't able to get the right amount of time so you could write amazing songs, I think you should now say, you should have a fallback that everybody hasn't figured out as yet. That once you become an expert in that, that's your fallback of generating revenue. So you now could say, okay, you know what? I may not be good I may not be good at getting music out there, but I was really good at knowing how people who have music and they're getting it out there, how to help them push it to the top, and I could charge people for that. And I'll give you an example. When I was in secondary school, we used to like to throw parties, right? So the parties we threw in secondary school all had bus in our colloquial term. And I went away to study, and I always wanted to get back into the party business and throwing parties, etc., Caribbean parties. And I realized that, you know what, I just wasn't good at that. However, what I was good at, I have a computer science degree, I was good at doing websites. So my business partner and I, what we did is we got together, friend and I, we got together and we did websites. He was a graphic artist, I was the programmer. And we did websites for party promoters. So in the early 2000s, we did a lot of websites for promoters in New York and DC and Miami. Static websites, they weren't as, big, and Facebook was there then as yet. But we were doing websites for people. And my point is, I wasn't able to, in the promotion space, if you don't think about it that way, I wasn't able to become a promoter. But I was able to go all the fets for free and parties for free because I was doing their website. So I built the technology. I worked on a product that promoters need and still able to connect and be in that environment, right? Because Not all of us are going to get the hits. Not all of us, if you're in the music industry, not everyone is going to become a marshal. It's just the laws of nature, and we have to accept that. So I implore you to find something that you could become excellent at, right? For people who are doing vlogs, and I put out this extreme example, right? How could you, so I talk about a tool, and tools is Spotify. Also look at markets. How can you find a market that no one has tapped into, and you want to understand that market well enough that you know how to play to that market based on the product that you are designing or building or selling? You understand that market so well, so that if you're in the fashion industry and you understand, instead of everyone rushing to get to the US or British market or the European market, you will figure out, okay, I know how to break into, I've seen the trends and I've studied how to break into the Japanese market. Because in the Japan market, they have a lot of buyers. They have a lot, it's a small market, right? But there's a lot of money in that space, right? Or how to break into the South Korean market if you're in the music industry. Or in any product that you're creating. And as creatives, it could be in anything. It could be in food. How can I look at maybe a Latin American country, and if I wanted to create a product, how would I get a product in there? So I think as you're building your portfolio of your products, your services, I think it's really important for you to find something within your industry that you could become an expert in. Dedicate 1 month to it. Test it out. Just dive in, give it your all and see. An example, I love technology. I love technology. And a semester in school, I stayed away from all technology ideas. All my ideas are around technology. I promised myself I would not look at any technology blog, nothing for 3 months. And I did that. And it was amazing to see the things that you learn and the connections that you make in different industries, etc. So we have 15 minutes. I'm going to run through a little fast because I want to save time for the Q&A. The last point, the last strategy is to become analytical, right? Because whatever you measure can grow. If you do not measure it, you will never know if it's growing. And that's why if you're posting on social media and not measuring and setting benchmarks for yourself, you're just going to continue running the same thing and doing the same thing and not knowing where you're making mistakes. You're not learning. This is not about just producing. As a creative, you now have to become a creative businessman or a creative entrepreneur. And that entrepreneur part means you need to do what entrepreneurs do. So you need to be able to look at the things that they look at and think like that. So, and I put here, and I just played with the words, to be anal is analytical, but you need to be anal about numbers. I don't care if you don't like numbers. I don't care if you don't like math. You need to start to think, what are my numbers? What are my numbers? What are my numbers? Because if you cannot measure it, you're not going to see what's working. You're not going to see what channels are working. You're not going to know what tools are working. You're not going to know if this market is worth even continuing studying. You're not going to know. You have to measure. Even if you were to become an expert in understanding how you could get music on Spotify to people, the only way you could prove that this works is if you measure, right? So you have to become anal about analytics. But a lot of people, it's very difficult, right? You look at the number of likes. In the startup world, we say likes, number of likes that you have is called, it's vanity metrics. And vanity metrics, in its simplest form, it's called BS metrics, right? It doesn't matter. Who cares if you have 1 million likes if you can't convert those likes into something valuable or measurable? If you have 1 million likes, great. But guess what? If you had 1 million likes last year at this time, and today you only have 1,000,001 like, you only got 1 extra like within the last year. It doesn't matter. It clearly shows your brand has fallen off the bandwagon. So you now have to figure out, how do I measure in such a way and become analytical in such a way that could help you grow? And a good way to do that is to put benchmarks around things. So if you realize that these points that I have here, I have per week, right? And the reason why you want to do per week, you don't want to do per day. Per day is too small, but per week is very good. And per week keeps you focused. You don't want to do 2 months per month, because if you do per month, if you miss this month and you mess up, you'll say, okay, I'll start over again next month. Week is the smallest unit for measuring, and it's a very good unit for measuring. So you want to measure how many products, or if I'm creating music or beats or hits, how many am I creating per week? Now, if you create a product once a month, and you can say, okay, right, I create a quarter of a beat or a quarter of a design for fashion, or a quarter of a story for film, if I'm writing per week, right? So you can break it down into fractions if the product is long. But per week forces you now, let me continue producing output, let me continue pushing. And I know I like the idea, and I don't know how true it is, but I think, I think I heard many years ago, Jay-Z always talking about, he's always trying to produce content, always creating, always writing, and always producing content. Because the more content you produce, it's a numbers game. Again, being anal about analytics. The more content you produce, the more you're gonna have a better chance. So content, I mean in this space, whether it's design, whether it's fashion, whether it's music, the more content you produce, you're gonna have a better chance of success. If you create one song per month, you only have 1 out of 12 chance, which is a very high risky chance of being successful. If you do 52 songs, now you're able to have a better chance of getting a hit, right? So you want to do weekly outputs, which is really important. It will, I guarantee, it's going to be hard for some people based on their industries, but fight it, push it. If you're writing, push, and it's going to help you to create more. And the better you push it, it's just going to help you to find those big hits if you're looking for it, right? It's really important. So good to measure your output, measure how many followers per week. I'm not saying to ignore. So measure if your growth is growing per week, or is it getting smaller, or is it flat? So if I had 50 people, I don't care if you had 1 million likes, but if you had before this week, but if you had 50 likes this week and you have 0 likes next week, it means something that you didn't do. Maybe whatever you did to get you 50, you should do it again. Maybe try improving on that, right? Number of people visited your site per week. I don't care if you had 1,000 per month, or since your site launched, you had 500,000. It doesn't matter. What matters is how many people per week. And this is in the simplest form. Right? There's a lot of more details where you can go into analytics, but this is just simple information. What's really critical to measure is how many people have engaged you for your service. It's going to be hard, right? And it's okay. I think I put, all right, I'll talk about that. It's okay to fail. It's okay to get 0 people engage me this week, and 0 people engage me next week, and 0 people engage me next week. So let's talk a little bit about how you plan that. How do you plan these numbers, right? Set a measurable goal. Which time do I have left? Right. Set a measurable goal. So you want to say, okay, I'm going to go and try to shoot for 50 new likes a day. I'm going to try to create 2 products this week. Their time frame is weekly. Don't worry about being perfect. Start scrappy, but grow professionally. So remember that it's okay to start scrappy, but grow professionally. I know some products are harder to go scrappy because you can't come out and say, I'm doing fashion, I'm going to create a scrappy design for someone, but you can't sketch scrap. You can't be scrappy in your sketches, right? So you know that you can't be scrappy in making music. You can't. So start scrappy, set a ridiculous failure rate, and that means be prepared to fail. Be prepared to get 0 people engaging you for the next 6 months or the next 3 months. Right? Not 1 year. That's too far. Maybe 6 months is too far. Maybe next month you could say, you know what? Nobody's going to engage me for the next month, and I'm okay with that. That's your failure rate. So if you get 1 engagement, you just beat your failure rate. So for the next month, you increase your failure rate to 1. Right? And let's see if you can get 2 and you continue improving yourself. Just start. Begin. Just start. Don't wait on anything. I want you guys to start immediately. And always adjust your numbers weekly and monthly for improvement. Right? Stop giving yourself easy tasks. Challenge yourself. But if you fail, which you should, and if you don't fail, that means something's wrong. When you fail, now adjust your numbers. Okay, maybe this benchmark was too high. Let me set a different benchmark. So these are the processes. These are the things that I think that are important. These 4 strategies that I think it's important for creatives and entrepreneurs. But to the creatives we're talking to today, I want you to try, right? It's about increasing your technology footprint. Get out there, get on many platforms. I want you to share among yourselves, because too many times we find something, we want to hold it. I want you to share because you are creatives. If there's a Pinterest today, I guarantee you the next 5 years is going to be a new type of Pinterest, and there's going to be always something new coming out. So don't be afraid to share a secret, because one, if you find a new platform and you could share with someone who could also come on that platform, they may be able to help you with that conversation, right? Or have conversations on that platform. Be focused, get your website, have a funnel, understand how your channels lead to your focal point, which is your website. Be able to communicate with people on your channel. Become an expert at one thing outside of your art. Become an expert, I beg you, because that will be a backup and your source of revenue in case you just didn't get the right products, the right people at the right time, and become anal about analytics, right? So it's 4 steps. It could go in order, or it could go in any form of fashion. So my homework to you guys is pick one. Start today. Just pick one. Draft up, okay, this is my plan. This is how these are the 4 technologies I currently use. So channels, these are the 4 channels I want to go and try and understand. I'm going to commit to it for 1 month. So even if I go on it today and it's boring as hell, I'm going to commit to it. I'm going to comment. I'm going to add value to 1 month, add value to people. So hopefully people can add value to you. Become anal about your numbers. Folks, thank you very much. I'm going to short time, but I want you guys to ask me questions. So please ask as many questions, and let me see if I can answer them within the little bit of time that we have left. Thanks a lot, Omari. I'm happy that you learned some information. Everything I have here, well, this is going to be recorded, but there's so much more information on it and so much more details that I would like. When this is recorded, you get a chance to see the slides and go through it again. Do some Google researching on your on funnels. Do Google researching on how do you measure your numbers. There's something called pirate metrics, P-I-R-A-T-E. It's like a normal pirate that helps with funnel and understanding how people come to your website, how do they know about you, and how do you get them to engage with you, right? So yeah, so Google has much information. Any other questions out there? Anybody has any questions for me? Questions, comments, emotional outbursts? Anyone? Yeah, and you can say no problem, Gideon. When is my next webinar? I don't plan to have another webinar soon. I have to ask MusicTT. But Gideon, to your question about setting guidelines, you could choose. Sometimes still difficult. Sometimes you want to start off on a good note, so you may choose something that you're more focused or easier to work with. Maybe doing your website first, or maybe being more analytical. It depends. So you could go at any point. Yeah, if you could, do you think 17 is too young to start? Definitely not. I think there are 2 types of industries that you could start any business in the world and become a millionaire. One is harder than the other, but the easier one is technology, but you have to like numbers, you have to like programming and that kind of stuff. And in the creative space, you could start at any age. And if you mix the 2, you are now a force to be reckoned with. If you mix technology, because we're getting closer to that, COVID has even pushed us forward further. And I'm kind of happy, not for COVID, but I'm happy from a technology standpoint. We're pushed forward of where we're supposed to be in Trinidad, to really push forward. But now is the time to really understand technology and how it affects your creativity and the products that you create. You will always be creative. You could sharpen that saw, but you need to sharpen the saw for technology to be great in the next few years. All right, and another question, Che, presentation look wicked. Also, if you want to read more on your work, where can we find it? Message us, message me at Launch Rocket, Facebook. So go on Facebook, Launch Rocket, and just message me any information that you want to find out, more books or different articles and things that we're reading. We've been kind of quiet for a while because then I transitioned, so I'm working full-time at Agostini. So we're going to figure out how to get more content out there and keep the brand and information that we want to share alive, right? Consultation, Ade, yes, but I'll message me on Facebook and then we'll figure out the time, because I love to help people. I want to help people. You have to do the work, but I love to talk to entrepreneurs to learn what they're doing and how I can help. So happy to chat. Just message me on Facebook so we can schedule a time. Message Launch Rocket on Facebook. As a creative, do you think stretching yourself too thin is a thing, or it just helps with the numbers game? Yes, definitely stretching yourself is too thin. Sometimes we creators like to grab at everything, and sometimes for good reason, sometimes we're just too greedy. So good reason, sometimes we're looking for opportunities, but it's to generate revenue to survive, so we're trying to grab at every straw. And sometimes we just need to focus. I think some of the most successful people in the world have had the opportunity to focus. It's not everybody's platform that they get that freedom to focus. But I think as a creative, you need to focus. But you can, that big focus can be broken down into small focal points, which allows you now to focus on multiple things. So there's never one major focus, right? You always have to focus on multiple things related to your final product or products that you're creating. But you have to get that focus on not jumping to many different ideas, unless you're launch rocket. But you have to get that focus on your business and your journey and your strategy, and be flexible once you're learning what works and what doesn't work. Right? How can your company you help creatives in the process services? So for Launch Rocket right now, we are refining our business model in terms of what's next. We have some ideas coming up soon. In terms of services, we'd be happy to connect you with people and maybe give you not a platform, but a guide in terms of these are the things that you need to do, right? And these are the things that you need to this is your plan to move forward, and go out there, execute it, try it, fail, it's okay. But after you've tried it and you have some feedback, then come back and then you can continue tweaking it until you get it right. All right? How important is a business plan to the process? I think business plans are very important and not important. It's like the first question that I asked. They're very important because I think everybody needs to understand what are critical points and how to think about your business. So I think everyone should do a business plan, and after you do your business plan and you've filled out all the components in your business plan and had a good idea, then do a business model canvas, which is more of a live type of business plan, which allows you to focus specifically on these key items, because nobody reads a business plan. If you're going to the bank for a loan, you need a business plan for sure. But I think everybody needs to do a business plan. Don't spend more than a week on it. Just write, throw things in there. Don't worry if it's perfect. Just write. And after you fill out all the components, then find what you call a business model canvas or the lean canvas and fill that out. And learn about lean canvases and how a lean canvas can actually help you really zoom into your business and see what's the best approach. Because a business model canvas wouldn't tell you, no, a business plan wouldn't tell you if you're going after the wrong customer. A business model canvas can, or a lean canvas, similar products can. So for example, you're creating music and there's so many people you could create music for. There's so many beats and things you could do within the music industry, whether it's gaming, whether it's online gaming, whether it's ads. There's so many things you could do, but because of our culture, I think usually when we start in the music industry, we get pigeonholed into this place of creating or singing or doing only for popular music, right? Soca and rap or whatever is growing or popular now. But you really want to look at the lean canvas or the business model canvas, and that will guide you on your trajectory for your business. Kimlet, will I be able to review the webinar? Yes, Tristan, you will be able to review the webinar. Do you think, Mela, do you think creatives are in danger or not standing out due to oversaturation of digital content? What can we do to stand out? I think to stand out, you just have to think outside of the box. You have to do things that are risky, but not illegal, and that will not damage your brand. You have to, I think one way to do that is to put other people first and see what they want. You know, I came back to Trinidad, and the first person, my mentor, and my first person, you know, I asked him for a favor. He said yes, and my promise to him is, whatever you need, let me know. I have no resources. I just came out of Trinidad, just trying to get myself started. Anything you think I could help you with, or you would like me to help you with, you let me know and I will help you. And he never asked me for any help, but he helped me constantly. So I think sometimes if we put other people first, they are able to appreciate that, and you will get a certain dynamic that you will be rewarded. So I do think to be different, to be in this whole plethora of digital content, you have to think outside the box. Go crazy, but think of people and think of what they want. Don't push, right? Chat to people, get what they want, and offer a service to them. Help people, and you will be rewarded. Maybe not directly from that person, but there are opportunities. But you have to think outside the box. You have to be creative, especially with everybody now trying to be creative on the digital space. And Mate, creative professionals always struggle with project funding. Do you have any recommendations for seeking alternative funding opportunities? So in that space, I think you have to just, so I'll tell you one thing to do. I'll tell you, this is a good hack. In Google, there's something called Google Alerts, right? So Google Alerts, and allows you to do alerts inside the Google system. So when Google finds articles that are recent about a topic that you're interested in, so if you're interested in project funding for Film Caribbean, you could type in the Google Alerts, project funding, Film Caribbean. And that allows you now, when anytime Google sees an article around those keywords, it will email you that link. That's one kind of hack to keep abreast of what's going on, because there are a lot of funding opportunities out there, right? Grants, etc. But you have to be able to find them, and it can't always be on every website. So you want Google to do some of that work for you. That's one. Two, in terms of project funding, I think the crowdfunding models are good. I think customer funding is something that we rarely look at in terms of getting your customers to buy into a product. How can I build a relationship? It doesn't have to be all your customers. It could be 10, 20, based on your budget and what you're looking for. And say, okay, understanding your customers, you're not just going to try to sell to them, what can I give you so you could give me $10,000? But understand your customers, understand what they're looking for, understand their style, get to know them, build that relationship. And then be able to present, I have this offer. I want to be able to give you something where you could give me something in return. I'll give you a quick example. In Canada, so the gentleman told me about this, and he worked in the film industry. So in Canada, they have something, well, across the world, there's something called angel investors. We have them in Trinidad. I was trying to help a film producer connect some angel investors in Trinidad not too long ago. But the situation was in Canada. This guy was doing this lady was doing a horror film. She wanted investment. She gave the investors an opportunity to be in her film. So these were middle-aged and older guys who had money. You get an opportunity to be in my film, or your business gets an opportunity to be in my film. And they were happy and excited to do that. There were zombies in the film or whatever it was. And it was a sense of where the people who she was asking for funding, she was giving them a part of the film, not in money, but an experience that they would never get the experience of. I know that's not an easy ask to ask in Trinidad in terms of culture, in terms of just style of how we do business. But it's not easy to go to somebody who has funding and say, hey, come into my film, but can you lend me $10,000? It's not an easy sell. But you have to think in that kind of way. So the people who your customers who would experience and love your product or love to be part of your product, how can you get them to benefit from it? So it's co-creating, so it's co-funding with not just only like-minded your peers, but you're co-funding with your customers, right? Even if it's $1, how can you co-fund with them? But if you don't get the funds to meet that project, you give them back $1 or $5 or $10, whatever it is. But I think we have to think outside of the box. I think we also have to look at industries that are not directly related to us, but that could benefit, right? So you're doing, let's say, if you're doing music and you want to, I'm making this example up, right? And it's big thinking, but you could scale it down in different ways. You want to be able to create, you want to be able to buy equipment so you could do recording, right? So you have samples of music that you have created for ads. And you think you could do a lot more ads, but you want $1,000 to buy this equipment. Why not go to a brand in Trinidad, whether it's corned beef or whoever brand, a brand under Massey Products or under Vemco or some other company, Handana, and say, okay, do you have these brands? I will create jingles for the next year or 6 months for all your brands. Anytime I'll give you as up to, for whatever advertising you have, I'll give you up to maybe 2 or 3 jingles, because remember, you're going to be producing a lot of content on a weekly basis. Give me $6,000 to buy my equipment, and I guarantee you I'll produce jingles or whatever it is to be able to assist with your brand going out there within marketing, right? So that's an example, extreme, but you could take that rough example and now break it down and build something around what could really work, and that can work, right? So you asking for sponsorship, and in return, the company is not just sponsoring you money, but they're getting something in return. And especially if it's a brand manager that has to pay maybe a marketing company thousands of dollars for jingles, etc., and you are doing it at the fraction of a cost just to be able to get supported by questions. Any other last minute questions? Oh, what's the best tool to use for a content calendar? Google Calendars, Gmail calendars, or content calendar. All right, so you just use it because you can create different calendars. I wouldn't go and purchase any software for that. You can create different calendars and only have, that calendar related towards content and producing products, right? So that calendar could pop up on your phone or give you a reminder, hey, you have 2 days to produce a product, and it's not directly related to your scheduled calendar. Yeah. Are there any other questions? Yes, not. All right. Folks, thank you very much for giving me time. I thank MusicTT for giving me the opportunity to talk about entrepreneurship and creativity and the creative industry, and bringing the two together and connecting it with technology. Thank you very much a lot to the MusicTT team, tiny team, they're doing amazing stuff. Thank you very much for that. And for all those persons who attended, thank you very much for listening and sticking through this 1 hour of your lunch break or your home break. And hearing what I have to say. Again, if you wanted to learn more information, you can reach out to Launch Rocket on Facebook, and we'll take it from there. Again, folks, thank you very much. Have a wonderful evening, the rest of your week, and a great weekend. And pick one of those starting points and start today. Don't wait. Start, do something, get it out there, get a win, and continue building. All right. Folks, enjoy the rest of your afternoon, and hopefully chat with you guys sometime soon. Take care.